The first few times I read Endo's novel Silence, I did not like at all the character Kichijiro. He struck me as a cowardly and completely unsympathetic figure. But the last couple times I've read the novel, I've come actually to admire Kichijiro in a way. Kichijiro is the Judas figure in the novel Silence. And Endo has an interesting sort of interpretation of Judas. Judas is someone who had an especially difficult but necessary role in the story. And Kichijiro has what is for him a very difficult role, and what Kichijiro does makes things a lot difficult for other Christians as well. And Kichijiro has a very difficult role, but also an essential one in this story. And Kichijiro is the one who will betray the Christians, will, when the threats come down, renounce Christianity, or will torture you. He gives in. Understandably, I won't criticize him for that. I'm not sure I would withstand the sorts of tortures that the Japanese brought to the Japanese Christians, or if Kichijiro was offered money to betray Christians, then he would do that. He would take the money and betray the Christians just as Judas did. And yet, Kichijiro always comes back. He always comes back. He always comes back. And at the end of the novel, what we find is that the priest who's at the center of the novel, Rodriguez, he's completely defeated. He's lost psychologically, spiritually, morally. And the person who seems to give him a little meaning, the human being in his context, who seems to bring to Father Rodriguez some sense of meaning at the end of the novel, is Kichijiro. And so it's taken me, I think, probably 5 readings to come to appreciate Kichijiro, but I have come to appreciate him. And I think what Endo is also doing in this novel is he's reminding us of themes. He's reminding us of things that often happen in the Hebrew and the Christian scriptures. We often see in the Hebrew and Christian scriptures that the people who do the useful stuff are sometimes the folks that we would least think would be the ones to do that useful stuff. David, for example, is the one who takes on Goliath. It seems that there are others who would be better positioned to take on the giant Goliath, but it's David who is selected for that job. Jonah, this incredibly unpleasant and recalcitrant so-called prophet, who, despite his unpleasantness, despite his hatefulness, despite his recalcitrance, is still used to bring God's love to the people of Nineveh. What we read about John the Baptist early in the Gospels, he strikes us as a somewhat odd figure who lives in the wilderness, who eats locusts and honey. It doesn't seem to be the sort of high status person who might pave the way for the Messiah. And then Jesus himself, born to an undistinguished family in an undistinguished part of the Roman Empire. There is a persistent theme in both the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament, and the Christian scriptures, the New Testament, that God regularly uses the weak and the foolish to get things done. And I think we see this in this story. And so we have this quote near the end of the novel where Father Rodriguez has appeared to renounce Christianity. He appears to have given up his status as a priest. Certainly in the eyes of everyone who knows him, that is what he's done. But here comes Kichijiro again, This faithless guy, the novel tells us that his breath stinks. And Rodriguez just can hardly stand being around him. But here comes Kichijiro. Kichijiro shows up and calls Rodriguez father. Father, father, it's Kichijiro. Rodriguez responds, I'm no longer father. Right? And Rodriguez tells him to go away. But Kichijiro says, you can still hear my confession. Of all the people that, could have come to Rodriguez, it's Kichijiro, who kind of refuses to accept that Rodriguez is no longer a priest, who seems to refuse to accept the idea that Rodriguez really has renounced Christ. And so Rodriguez, first of all, recognizes that in a way, he's no better than Kichijiro. Kichijiro betrayed the Christians. He renounced Christ. He did this multiple times. Father Rodriguez does it just once, but in that respect, they're the same. They both appeared to renounce Christ. And so Father Rodriguez, I guess, can't look at Kichijiro any longer with a sense of superiority in that they both appeared to have renounced Christ. Father Rodriguez, although he initially hesitates to hear Kichijiro's confession, he does listen to the confession. And the text says that Kichijiro wept softly. The priest had administered that sacrament that only a priest can administer, kind of indicating that, despite what happened, Rodriguez still was in some sense a priest. No doubt his fellow priests back in Portugal would condemn his act as sacrilege. Yeah, but they haven't experienced what he's experienced. They haven't gone through what he went through. But then Endo very interestingly says, but even if Rodriguez was betraying them, he was not betraying his Lord. There's a sense of faithfulness there that Rodriguez discovers a new sense of mission. Rodriguez discovers a new sense of mission. It's certainly not the heroic mission that he set out to pursue when he left Portugal to go to Japan. It's a much humbler mission, but it's still a mission. Rodriguez still has a mission. And who is it that reminded him of that? It's this faithlessly faithful or faithfully faithless person, Kichijiro. It does remind us of this theme in the scriptures, that it's the weak, it's the last, it's the foolish whom God often uses in this world to get things done.